Second First Kiss, a Sierra Vista novel by Marina Adair, narrated by Piper Goodeve. Chapter 1. Cat Rhodes' sister had disappeared off the planet. One minute she was there, and the next she was gone. A never-ending theme in Cat's life, it seemed. She refreshed her Find My Friends app, but Tessa's dot had mysteriously disappeared an hour ago, which meant she was not at the library prepping for her SATs, and likely up to trouble. The kind of trouble Cat had once invented. Boy trouble. Those days were long behind her, or so she thought, until she became the keeper of a teenager. She wasn't Tessa's legal guardian, but she was working on it, which was why she was at Sunrise Falls, the stomping grounds for underage partiers in Sierra Vista, instead of at work. Embarrassingly enough, she was spying on her sister's extracurricular activities that likely included keg stands and hooking up. "I'm so going to get fired," she mumbled to herself. This was the third time she'd left work in the middle of a shift to babysit. Karma was definitely paying her back for all the trouble she'd caused when she'd been Tessa's age. Unfortunately, Karma wasn't paying her salary, a problem since Cat desperately needed money. Between college loans and paying off the back property taxes on her dad's house, which she'd taken over 3 years ago when he'd gotten injured and lost his job as a lumberjack, she was so in the red. Her life was always in emergency mode, like the constant flashing of the exit sign during a plane crash. Grab the parachute and escape while you can. Only she couldn't escape. She and Tessa were working on building trust, another theme in Cat's life. Trust was harder for Cat than love, and she wanted to trust her sister, she really did. But recent history hadn't afforded Tessa that privilege. 3 years ago, when Cat had walked away from her dream college to come home and help care for her sister, Tessa had been a sweet, rule-following people-pleaser who was more into boy bands than bad boys. Then she'd grown boobs, learned the power of a push-up bra, and attracted the interest of the baddest of bad boys, R.J. Locke. And things rapidly changed. All those people-pleasing tendencies had transferred from her family to her crush. Checking to make sure there were no bears or coyotes in the near vicinity, Cat hated bears. She hopped out of Betty Davis, her late grandpa's 1967 yellow Ford Fairlane, which looked like a banana on wheels. She grabbed the bolt cutters from the back seat and approached the metal gate, which was blocking her entrance to the park's grounds. It had a chain wrapped around it, securing it shut. Screwed to the center of the imposing gate was a big, official-looking sign stating, Federal Forest Park Rules. 1. Open from dusk to dawn. That wouldn't work. It was nearly 8:30, and Cat was going into that parking lot. 2. No alcohol. According to the thumping bass in the distance, that rule was broken by about 100 underage teens. 3. No pets. Cat looked at Tiny Dancer, her miniature pony who suffered from separation anxiety and thought he was a lawnmower. TD had shown up on her front porch one morning 3 summers ago, in serious need of a mani-pedi and some TLC. Cat's bleeding heart had cost her a $1,000 vet bill, 3 throw rugs, and her favorite leather recliner that now had a TD butt-sized dent in it. "One nay out of you and your name will be glue." "Rebel," she mumbled. Cat studied the rest of the rules and nearly rolled her eyes when she realized there were 12, including but not limited to no fires, hunting, camping, littering, or unauthorized groups over 20. Geez, they might as well have listed no fun. 12. No unauthorized motor vehicles during off hours. That wasn't going to work, since she wasn't about to hike in 1/4 of a mile over the river and through the woods in the pitch black. Even the moon was working against her, a thin slice about as bright as a single Christmas tree light. Then again, just like she knew how to handle herself, a necessity when you grow up the poor kid in town with parents who couldn't be bothered. She also knew the importance of self-reliance. She gave one last look at the sign and its bolded, "All violators will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law," and shrugged off the warning. Sometimes bending a little rule, or 12, was the right thing to do. And catching her sister in the act was the right thing to do. Too much was at stake for Tessa to be out partying on a school night. "Buckle up," she told Tiny Dancer. "Things are about to get interesting." Holding the bolt cutters, she was ready to slice through the metal when she realized someone else had already broken Rule 12, since the chain was, in fact, cut. "I guess we're only violating the entry part in this impromptu B&E. Kat unwound the chain, letting the heavy metal clank against the steel gate, and pushed it open. Hopping in Betty, she drove over the storm grate and pulled around the bend, where she found a parking lot full of cars. Enough to account for Sierra Vista High's entire football, basketball, and cheerleading teams. She was going to kill Tessa. With an exhausted breath, she drove off the pavement and onto the gravel shoulder, inching up as far as she could get to the base of the trail, blocking any and all exits. She wasn't about to miss her sister's escape. Turning off the engine, she pulled out her phone. "Kat, how's studying going? You understand E equals MC squared yet?" Tessa. ... The dots disappeared while her sister was likely concocting yet another lie. Tessa. "No, but I'm learning how to conjugate 'my sister's annoying' in French." Kat. "You'll have to teach me that one. I imagine it'll come in handy. What time will you be home?" Tessa. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll be home by curfew." Most kids would have said Mom, but since Tina Rhodes bailed when Tessa was only 7, the only parent her sister really knew was Abe Rhodes. A shame, since he was a frequent flyer on the deadbeat dad plane. Kat. "Good. I got off early, so we should get home around the same time." Which was in 20 minutes. More than enough time to get home from the library. Booking it all the way from Sunrise Falls? Never going to happen. It would take her 10 minutes alone just to hike through the dense forest after dark. If she were sober. Kat hoped to God her sister was sober. Tessa. "You don't have to do that. I have my key." Kat. "And I have a headache. See you in 20. Kat waited a whole 3 minutes for a response. Not even a single blinking dot. She didn't like playing the heavy or pulling on the hall monitor hat. But if she was going to prove to the court that she could provide a safe and loving environment for Tessa, then she'd wear however many hats as it took. Kat rolled down the window and let the fresh spring air wash over her. She smelled of curly fries and malt beer. She felt like she'd been run through a wood chipper. Moonlighting as a bartender was going to kill her. After pulling her 9 to 5 at the county as an IT specialist, which was more of a glorified DMV clerk, she worked the closing shift at Bigfoot's Brews at least 4 nights a week. She wouldn't say she was living the dream, but it kept her on good terms with the electric company. Man, would her peers at MIT laugh their asses off if they could see her now. Their resident hacker now working for the man. At least working at the bar allowed for her to showcase her badassery, with her shredded jeans, Doc Martens, black nails, and blood-red lipstick. Not to mention an attitude and wicked right hook that kept the natives from getting too rowdy. Bigfoot's Brews was a bar and grill located at the base of the largest family-owned ski lodge in the area, and a hot gathering spot for tourists and locals alike. It was the stunning combo of rustic luxe and cabin chic, with vaulted wood ceilings, pounded copper tabletops, and floor-to-ceiling windows that showed off the mountain views, which in the early spring showcased the evergreen ridges, with white-capped peaks dusted in residual snow from the long winter. Kat felt like she'd had a long winter as well, one that had started 3 years and a few abandoned dreams ago, when her dad lost his job as a lumberjack and had to reinvent himself as a cross-country truck driver. But family